Hey there, friends and enemies, JoPa here again, and today I want to talk about my biggest frustration with the new Court of Blades activity in Destiny 2 episode Heresy Act 2. And it's something that I saw with the expert version of the Nether as well, but the way that activity is structured really didn't bring out the issues as much as with Court of Blades, in my opinion, and that is the lack of rewarding loot by doing the expert version of the activity. It really does feel like when you're doing expert Court of Blades, you should be getting a adept version of one of the episodic weapons every single run, especially if you are able to beat all 13 bosses in the time frame and complete the activity. But that is not the case. I actually saw this with Rick Kakis doing a video about essentially farming one boss in this activity and then letting the game sit for 10 minutes and then going from there and getting your adept versions of the rewards, because you're either just as likely or close to as likely to get an adept version of a weapon whether you beat one boss or all 13, and that is insane to me. There's no real ramp up in the level of rewards you get, so it doesn't make it worthwhile trying to complete the activity unless you're just going for a triumph. And this is really frustrating when we just got adept versions of episodic weapons introduced, and I'm trying to chase at least one adept god roll that I would like. It doesn't even matter the weapon that I get at this point. I've had so many expert versions of the Court of Blades where I don't get any adepts whatsoever, whether I finish 6 bosses, 10 bosses, or all of them. It is irrelevant to what your reward is from the outside appearances. So that is something that I am incredibly frustrated by, and I hope gets changed. With the Nether, there were so many other ways to get rewards while you're doing the activity with all the chests and everything like that, that it felt like it was still rewarding regardless of whether or not you actually got the adept you were looking for at the very end. Plus, it just felt like an activity that you could complete in a way that was a bit, not necessarily easier, but it was more consistent, in my opinion, from my clears versus trying to get all 13 bosses with the Court of Blades. Now, one of the suggestions that I would make personally is to have a system similar to Grandmaster Nightfalls, where you get the Nightfall ciphers and you can focus a specific weapon after you've completed so many runs. And I feel like this would alleviate so much of the problems. Grandmaster Nightfalls are not going to shower you in loot when you are completing them, unless it's like double Nightfall rewards or something like that. However, you're making consistent progress towards getting the god roll and the weapon that you're looking for. If you don't get a drop every single run, it's pretty dang close, especially if you kill enough of the champions. And that is something that I wish would happen with the Court of Blades. Whether you get a version of an adept version of the weapon every single run or not, at least make it consistent where you get them often enough. I've ran 4 or 5 in a row where I haven't got any adept versions of the weapons, and that just feels really bad and makes it so I personally wouldn't recommend running the expert version of the Court of Blades to anybody unless you are the most hardcore players. If you value your time, it's just not worthwhile at this point, and that makes it incredibly frustrating because they added these new adept episodic weapons. They feel like something that I want to be chasing. I do enjoy the Court of Blades activity as a whole, but instead of really wanting to live in that playlist, I find myself discouraged because I'm not getting any drops, and if I do, they're bad rolls, and so there's really no progress that I'm making. It's not like the Grandmasters or even raids where you're able to get the ciphers and everything in order to continue to make progress towards the weapons specifically that you're looking for, or you can farm specific encounters of raids and dungeons for the weapons that you're looking for. You have a chance to get an adept version of any of the available weapons in Act 2, and you don't necessarily know if you're going to get a god roll either. So you're going to get a random weapon, you're going to get a random roll, and it's going to feel bad when you spend hours doing this activity, getting maybe 2 adepts, 3 adepts, whatever the case may be, and none of them are what you're looking for. It's just not worth your time at this particular time in the game. And so that's something that I hope they look at in the future, whether it's adding a system to target farm or target specific weapons. I think that would be nice, so you can turn in tokens or something of that nature, whether it's an upgraded version of the Tomb of Want where you're able to essentially turn some of the materials that you get into adept versions of the weapons, especially at the end of the episode. I think this is something that I hope is implemented with the Act 3 of episode Heresy, because as we're moving forward into a new era in Destiny, as they adjust from the episodic structure to this almost minor DLC kind of idea that they're going to have, I do feel like they should be throwing a lot of loot at us to get people excited for the next chapter in Destiny and getting people prepared for whatever is to come. And right now, the regular versions are good. There's really no reason to get the adept versions for most players. And this is made especially true for this episode when there's a certain mod that's absolutely insane this episode as well, that you can toss on this episode's weapons. And so you don't even need an adept version to toss that on anyway. And it makes it almost irrelevant to run expert version of Court of Blades, and I just wish that wasn't the case. Give me something to chase. If I, just like in Grandmasters, this is another comparison. If I get a platinum score or even a gold score, every level that I hit should increase the likelihood that I get the rewards that I'm looking for. And if they don't do something like that, it just feels like there's no reason to run it, and that it's just a feels bad moment for sure, and something I hope they look at. Like I said, I feel like at the end of the day, Bungie has normally done a good job of increasing the rewards, especially later in a season or later in an episode, if they feel underwhelming. So I do hope we get maybe double rewards from Court of Blades or something like that. Maybe we get some kind of structure similar to Nightfalls. Whatever the case may be, we need that in the worst possible way, because I don't want to feel like I'm wasting my time. And I know people will say Destiny does that a lot, but there's a difference, in my opinion, something that people often don't consider, between having a fun chase for the thing that you're looking for and just feeling like you are not making any progress whatsoever. No time being wasted would be something that I feel like would be nice, especially, like I said, when you have other activities in the game that could provide a guideline for how this could be so much better. The Court of Blades activity itself, very good, very fun. Nether, I enjoy as well. I think there's a lot of potential here for future activities as well. They just need to get the reward structure back to a place that I think is worthwhile for those who want to take on the harder versions. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Like the video as always. Comment, subscribe, have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.